Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Lessons, your place where you can get those great little tidbits of information to help you be the best leader you can be, thinking with your head and leading with your heart. Welcome to 2025. And if you did not catch yesterday's episode on Strong Inside and Out, I am doing things a little bit different moving into the new year in an effort to continue to grow and build an effective audience, but still get the word out to as many people as possible. I'm adding my show each week to my YouTube channel. So here I am, if you're watching on YouTube as a video, and if you're listening to your podcast, then I'll continue to provide the audio here as well. So great things coming for 2025. Hopefully you had a great start to your new year. I have to say, we wrapped up the year in bed with, well, myself in bed with an 85-pound dog on top of me. I'm recording this on Sunday, January 5th, and I'm sitting here in my office next to this lovely, my wonderful companion, Oakley, the brown dog. And Oakley is 13 and a half. I know this is probably going to be our last year together. He struggles in many ways. I've shared on the podcast before, but New Year's Eve and 4th of July just put him over the edge. I live in Houston. I think it's like a norm everywhere anymore, but fireworks are a thing here. And the weather was pretty good. So they did fireworks until almost 2 a.m. New Year's Eve night. And although, I was awake, it's fine. It's a little hard to be awake with an 85-pound dog on top. So we made it and we were able to ring in the new year and connect with the people we needed to. But I didn't go out and I didn't go see my people because I knew he would struggle. Just those sacrifices we make, right? So anyway, 2025 for me, however, has been I've been off to an amazing start, just so many great things happening. And I wanted to talk to you about some of the things that I've noticed as I've been working through my plans for this year. I recently, these last 2 weeks, I've been off my work schedule, right? So you probably know if you've been listening for a while. I went back to work and I'm working for a school. I'm not the principal right at this point. I don't want to be the principal. I want something that brings in steady income and has benefits, but I also want something that's flexible in a manner that I can go and come home and still work on my business and all of the things. And so far, it's working out pretty well. So these last 2 weeks, I had the fortunate blessing of being off as we shut down schools for the holidays. And I spent time creating a new ebook. So for those of you who don't know, I am a best-selling author. My last book hit international bestseller on Amazon, and I have a few different books out. And this year is my year that I'm really going to dive into the topic of leadership within my writing. And I have a goal to produce a few ebooks, which this is the first one of a few. And then, of course, I'll release my next big one by December of 2025. And that one, I think is going to be called Lead Like a Principal. So stay tuned for more details on that. But this one, I'm almost done with it. I have to make sure I have the right title. I'm still playing around with the title. But basically, the book covers what are the biggest challenges for female leaders and some strategies on how we can overcome those challenges. And the purpose really is to get this information out to women leaders out in the world, no matter what your field or organization, the clients you serve, whether you're in a school or not in a school, because these strategies are very universal for sure. And I'm not sure if there's going to be a cost to it. If this first one I'm going to provide for free, I haven't decided yet. So still working out some logistics, but it was a fun process to work through that this week. And it really got me on this trajectory of thinking, okay, so what are some of these challenges that people, leaders all over the world do struggle with? I know what female leaders struggle with because I've done extensive research on that, but just leaders in general. And it just so happened, I think my phone listens to me, right? We all know that. But I had been talking to somebody about this, and then today it came across my phone as I was scrolling on a site, some of this information, and I thought, okay, let me take a minute and let me check this out. So it ended up being a Facebook group for leaders, and I've been in that group for a while, and it's pretty. I would say it's a legit group. I think that the people within the group do truly serve in different leadership positions, and or have done some big leadership work out there in the world. You know, you have to be very careful about where you get your information, of course, but this one I think is pretty legit. And so I stopped and I looked at this posting, and it really was about what are some of the challenges that leaders face in the world today. And people responded, not a lot of people, about 20 people. And I thought, wow, these people have some good insights. And so I wanted to talk about those with you today, because these are things that over the course of this next year, we're really going to touch upon, because if I'm feeling them and these people are feeling them, chances are most leaders are feeling these same hurdles. And I wouldn't be doing the work that I do if I weren't doing it to have an impact. It's very important to me. And I want to make sure that we have this information out so we can start talking about solutions. I don't want to just be the problem, but I want to be the solution for the hurdles that we face. So let's get into this. So as I was looking, I kind of categorized things to see how many times they came up within the conversation, and how passionate, I guess I would say, I felt the poster felt about it based on the information that they shared. Of course, some people just put one or two words, and then some people put some extensive responses. And so I kind of categorized them with the top five and then the next five. Now, I'm not going to say that I agree that these are in any kind of specific order as being more important than the others, but I do think that these are pretty powerful. And I wanted to share them because, again, we need to dive into these hurdles so that we can help all of us become the leaders that we were meant to be. So the first one that was pretty popular was corporate politics. You know, I think about my time as a leader within public education, and I've done most of my leadership work in Texas, spent a couple years in Iowa, which is a whole different political field for education, if you do follow education at all. But Texas also is very charged as well. And we've gone through, since I've been in education here in Texas, we've had, gosh, I want to say four or five different commissioners of education. And it's interesting the way we do the systems here. The governor appoints the commissioner, and I think a lot of it is very much tied to the political landscape of what's happening or what the agenda is of the legislature, I guess, in Austin. And I don't know any of them personally, and this is not a dig at any of them, but I will say that educational politics is pretty demanding, just as they can be within corporate. I was listening to a podcast yesterday as I was going out and running my errands, and they were talking about the mere fact of just trying to navigate through the going from being a private owned company to a public company. And it was a totally different kind of company, right? It was a marketing business, and totally different than the work that I have done in the past, but still feeling some of the same types of pressures politically. And basically, the guest on this podcast had even indicated that once their company went public, he just felt like the company wasn't for him anymore, and he ended up selling. So I think that that is a real challenge. And so I put that as on the top of the list, because I think that that definitely can draw some attention for us to have a conversation in the near future. The next one that I have listed is effective communication skills. I think that a lot of times as leaders, and I've said this over and over in the work that I do, I've said this over and over as a former principal when we sat in our groups with other principals and networked and even when I have conversations with other business owners, I think that we all know that communication is important and we all have a specific style on how we do communication. But I also think that communication can make or break a person. I know that the way we come across our nonverbal communication, in addition to our verbal communication and how open we are to sharing things, even though we can't share everything, but keeping people as informed as possible and having that policy of, we're in this all together. So I want to keep you abreast of things that are happening. I remember there was a time where we had a significant crisis at the school I was leading. And this was a long time ago, right, as I was starting my journey. And we had internet and we had email and stuff like that. But I really felt like it was important that I pulled my team together afterwards to give them as much information because I knew that I was feeling uneasy about the safety at the time. And I had had extensive training in school safety. And my teachers had had some training, but not quite the same. And, there are moms out there and daughters and sisters and wives and all of the things, plus dads and so forth. And so I needed to pull them all together. I have been told by that group of staff members that were close to me, my leadership team, that that was a pivotal moment in my leadership journey where this group of teachers really changed how they trusted and viewed me as somebody who was going to be there and stand up for them and protect them. And so I think that that is important for us to all think about because effective communication is key for sure. The third one I have on my list is navigating people management. And this one was interesting because some people were a little bit harsh on this one. I heard things like, or I read things like dealing with entitled employees, dealing with people who don't think they need to change. And even someone commented about leaders and how leaders face the challenge of people management because they can't manage themselves. And I thought that that was very interesting. It's why I do the work I do. It's because a lot of times as leaders, we feel like we've had all of the training and all of the work to be able to be the top person within our organization, which we have had extensive training, but our training can't end there. That training got us to the position. Now we have to continue to develop ourselves in a way that's going to continue to sustain us in that position. And so I found that one to be interesting, but I grouped it into navigating people management. People management is hard. I always would say at the school, and I know I keep going back to the school, but it's where most of my experience was. I always used to say, if it weren't for the parents and the teachers and the students, teaching would be easy. And someone said, okay, but that's all we do. And I said, I know, isn't that the bad thing about this? So I was being silly, of course, at the moment, but it's true. People are hard, and it's because we're human and we have emotions and we have experiences and backgrounds that regulate how we take care of things, and we have feelings, and it's all of the things. So definitely agree with that one, navigating people management for sure. The next one I put on the list is loneliness at the top. This one is hard. I work with a client right now that is experiencing this very much, very much. And I have to say, we're having some challenges getting past this because this person wants to be liked. She is in charge of a team. I'm going to say probably about 12 people. They all work remotely. Some are within where she lives, so they do have meetups or they do have opportunities to have in-person meetings within the organization on the days that she actually goes into the work office. But many are also spread out across the United States. And someone said to her recently, you are trying to be friends with your employees. You need to be careful. And she asked me what my thoughts were on that. And I said, well, I think that we can always be friendly and we can always be kind. And you have to have groups of people that you can trust in a manner that you can bounce ideas and even have people that you can vent to at times. But you have to be very careful about who they are within your organization. I know when I first became a principal, Facebook was starting to get going and it really started moving. Gosh, I didn't get on until like 2010. I know it was full force before that, but my teachers were on. And once I got on, like people knew, like it was like wildfire, right? And I was getting teacher requests or friend requests from teachers. And then I was getting friend requests from parents and all of the thing. And I just thought, no, I think I need to just keep that part of my life a little bit separate. Now, as I was leaving out, from each of the schools, then I could go ahead and find the people that I felt I wanted to stay connected to in different ways because I didn't have the obligation any longer of being their supervisor. So I think you have to be very, very careful on that. But I know people do it because of the feelings of loneliness, lonely at the top. It is hard. You are, especially if you're the top level leader, you are on your own. And if you don't have a good support system outside of the work that you do, it can be very challenging, overwhelming. And I know people who have left their positions because of that. So I definitely agree with that one for sure. And then, of course, mental well-being, care, and growth. And I think that that is so crucial. Self-care and taking care of your needs. I've been there where I've put the work in front of my own needs, gotten myself to a place where I got sick, got myself into places where I ended up, whether this is the one core reason, it's not, but it contributed to my divorce. And it's hard. I've lost friendships over the work and social circles and things like that as well. And it's because I put the work in front of many of those things. I even have now, every once in a while, my daughter will say things. She's on the track of, she could become a principal within the next few years. She's very strong at what she does and she definitely is very well liked in her district. And she'll say, Mom, I just don't know if I want to do it because I want to be a mom. And I said, well, I was a mom. And she goes, yeah, but you weren't there for everything. And she'll bring that up every once in a while. Now, she was middle school and high school when I was moving into the position. And of course, I was a teacher when she was little. And actually, the first 5 years, I was just in college. But it can be hard when you can't find that balance. So definitely we'll be spending some time talking about that. Those are the top five that I have. And as I'm looking at time and looking at our engagement level as the good teacher that I am, quickly going over the next five, and then we'll wrap things up. And these are going to be, as I said, topics that we continue to talk about. But my next five are these: making tough decisions, understanding younger and older generations, adapting and adjusting, creating a productive company culture, and leading authentically. I think those five are just as important as the first five, but of course, somehow, some way, I had to look at the data that was within that group and kind of go with the alignment that they were saying. So over the next, what is this, 10 different topics, these will be the big topics that we're going to talk about here on Leadership Lessons. Just talking about how we start to navigate this, how we start to overcome, what could be solutions for all of us to use. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of these. Of course, you may have additional things that you might want to hear us talk about here over the next year, and I would love that feedback. You can always reach out to me at my email, sherrydixonconsulting@gmail.com. I have email with me all the time, so I can check that and start organizing these episodes. And also, I'd love to see and have some of you featured here as guests this year and talking with me about these types of things. I could see definitely our structure be where we have a conversation about this and then we have a guest on about it and just kind of use that every other week kind of structure. But working toward that, we'll see how things go. But again, I want to wish you well into 2025. I want to encourage you to come back, share this episode, share the show with others. Every Wednesday, I release a podcast, and I release this podcast. Tuesdays, I release Strong Inside and Out, which is a little more about our personal well-being. This is more about our professional well-being. So please make sure to check both of those shows out, share them, give me some feedback. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I do get random sometimes. My ADHD does tend to kick in, but hopefully you always get those little nuggets of information that will help you be the best that you can be. And that's my goal. So have a great rest of the week. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, stay tuned for episodes next week releasing there. And if you're on YouTube, welcome to the family and hope to hear from you soon.